Remember daydreaming about the year 2024 back when you were a kid? Okay, maybe you pictured flying cars instead of whatever this is. But still, the future is officially here.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that sound straight out of science fiction, get this, we're on the verge of something called the intelligence age. At least according to this article I've got right here. It's called, you guessed it, the intelligence age. And it makes this wild claim that we're about to witness a massive leap forward in human progress, all thanks to AI. And not just like fancier phones or whatever. We're talking about solving problems that have plagued us for centuries. But here's where it gets really interesting. The article says we're not actually becoming individually smarter. It's more like society itself is becoming a new form of intelligence. What do you make of that?
It's a fascinating idea, and I think it makes a lot of sense if you look back at how far we've come. Take language, for example. No one person sat down and invented that right. It evolved over thousands of years. Each generation building on what came before. We literally inherited the ability to communicate complex ideas from our ancestors. And it's not just language. Think about the internet, this vast network of information built by billions of people, all contributing their knowledge and creativity. That's collective intelligence in action. And it's already transforming the way we live, work, and understand the world.
Okay, yeah, when you put it like that, it clicks into place.
Yeah.
But how does AI fit into all of this? It's not like we're all suddenly going to be uploading our brains to the cloud.
Not quite, at least not yet. But the point the article makes is that AI is like turbocharging this collective intelligence we've been building for millennia. It's giving us tools to process information, solve problems, and make connections in ways that were simply impossible before.
So instead of replacing us, AI is more like amplifying our abilities.
Exactly. The article compares it to adding new struts to the scaffolding of human progress. It's building on the achievements of everyone who came before us, but with an extra boost of intelligence.
Okay, that makes sense. But then the article goes on this whole deep dive into deep learning. And I have to admit, that's where I started to get a little lost. Can you break it down for us? What exactly is deep learning? And what makes it so important for this whole intelligence age thing?
Imagine teaching a computer to recognize, say, a picture of a cat. In the old days, we'd have to program in all these specific rules. If it has fur, whiskers, a tail, then it must be a cat. Deep learning throws that out the window. Instead, you feed the computer millions of images, some cats, some not cats, and it figures out the patterns on its own. The more data you give it, the better it gets at recognizing a cat, even if the picture is blurry or the cat is doing something weird.
So it's like teaching a computer to learn like a child.
Exactly. Except instead of giving a kid a few flashcards, we're talking about feeding these algorithms massive amounts of data, giving them the ability to see patterns and make connections that would take us humans' lifetimes to figure out.
Okay, now that is starting to sound a little bit like magic.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is how the article describes our AI-powered future. Is this deep learning the secret sauce, so to speak, the thing that's going to make all this seemingly impossible progress possible?
It's definitely a key ingredient. Think about the sheer scale of information we're generating every day, scientific discoveries, medical data, you name it. Deep learning gives us a way to make sense of all that data, to find solutions to problems we didn't even know how to ask before. And the more powerful our computers get, the faster these algorithms learn, which is why the article argues that we're on the cusp of an intelligence explosion.
An intelligence explosion, That sounds intense. But also, if we're being honest, a little too good to be true. I mean, the article talks about solving poverty, curing diseases, even colonizing space. It's like something straight out of Star Trek. Are we really about to enter a golden age of prosperity and abundance, all thanks to AI? Or is that just wishful thinking? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for a brighter future and all, but it's hard not to be a little skeptical. Is it really possible to solve such huge, complex problems just by throwing more AI at them?
You're right to be cautious. History is full of grand promises about technology that didn't quite pan out the way people imagined. But the thing about the intelligence age, as this article describes it, is that it's not just about incremental improvements. It's about a fundamental shift in what's possible. Imagine being able to analyze the entire human genome to develop personalized medicine, or model the effects of climate change with pinpoint accuracy.
Okay, yeah, those are some pretty mind-blowing possibilities. But even if we could do all that, there's still the question, well, what happens to everyone's jobs? We're talking about AI being able to do everything from diagnosing diseases to, writing award-winning podcast scripts. What's left for us humans to do? The article touched on this a bit, but I'd love to dig a little deeper.
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the article tackles it head-on with a really interesting analogy. Remember lamplighters?
Lamplighters. You mean
Yeah.
like back in the day before electricity?
Exactly. It used to be a real job going around every evening lighting the gas lamps on street corners. Can you imagine that being your livelihood? But then electric lights came along and poof, the job of a lamplighter vanished practically overnight.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So you're saying that some jobs like those gas lamps are just destined to become obsolete?
Not necessarily destined, but the world of work is always evolving, right? The Industrial Revolution created whole new industries, but it also made some jobs obsolete. The key is adapting to those changes. The article argues that the same will be true in the intelligence age. Some jobs will become automated, yes, but new ones will emerge, jobs we haven't even imagined yet. Just like those who invented the internet probably didn't predict social media manager or meme lord.
That's reassuring, I guess. But it still feels like a pretty big gamble, doesn't it? How do we make sure that everyone benefits from these changes and not just the people designing the AI?
That's the big question. And honestly, there's no easy answer. But the article stresses that we can't just bury our heads in the sand and hope for the best. We need to be proactive about investing in education and retraining programs, creating safety nets for those whose jobs are displaced, and making sure that the benefits of this new technology are shared widely.
So it's not just about the technology itself, but about how we choose to use it and what kind of future we want to build with it.
Exactly. The intelligence age isn't some predetermined destiny. It's a choice point. And the decisions we make today will determine what that future looks like for everyone.
Okay. I'm starting to feel a little less like we're on a runaway train to the future and more like, well, maybe we're all in the driver's seat figuring things out as we go.
Yeah.
But even with all this talk about AI and deep learning, I have to admit, I'm still not entirely sure I understand what this intelligence age would actually look and feel like. Will we all have personal robots? Will we be living in some kind of utopian society free from work and want? Or will it be more subtle than that? I mean, it's exciting to think about all the problems we could solve, but it's also a little daunting. You know, like, how do we even begin to prepare for a world where intelligence is this abundant?
That's the beauty and the challenge of it all, isn't it? We're essentially writing the rule book as we go. But the article doesn't offer a singular vision of the future. Instead, it emphasizes that the intelligence age won't be one monolithic thing. It'll be messy, it'll be different in different parts of the world, and it'll be shaped by the choices we make every step of the way. Think about how differently the internet has played out in various countries. The intelligence age will be even more complex.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not like there's going to be one big intelligence day where everything changes overnight. It's more like we're already on this path. And the question is, how do we navigate it?
Precisely. And a big part of that, as the article stresses, is staying informed and engaged. Don't just assume that the people in Silicon Valley are going to figure it all out for us. This is a conversation that needs to involve everyone.
So it's not just about understanding the technology. It's about shaping how that technology gets used.
Exactly. It's about asking tough questions, demanding transparency from the people developing these AI systems, and making sure that the benefits are shared widely. Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create.
That's a powerful message. So if you had to distill it down to one key takeaway from this whole intelligence age idea, what would it be for you?
I think the most important thing is to approach this new era with a sense of both curiosity and responsibility. Curiosity about the incredible possibilities that AI unlocks, and responsibility for making sure those possibilities benefit everyone.
Well said. And after diving deep into this with you, I have to say I'm feeling a lot more optimistic, or at least a lot less terrified than when we started. It's like the future is still unwritten, but at least we have a hand in writing it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's an exciting time to be alive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And for those of you listening, we want to leave you with something to ponder. The article argues that AI will help us not only generate great ideas, but also, and this is key, make them happen. So here's a question for you. If you had a personal AI team at your disposal, what's the first problem you'd tackle? What world-changing idea would you bring to life? Think about it. And who knows, maybe the seeds of the next great breakthrough are being planted in your mind right now. That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us. And remember, the future is unwritten, but with a little intelligence, we just might write a pretty amazing story.